Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hi.
to another art conversation. Hello, Nadine. I hope you are enjoying your day. I'm honored to introduce our today's artist, Nadine Charlsen. She's famous for her urban landscape and cityscape painting. And I would like to start with a line from her statement that she said, "My art evokes an emotion that help you take the journey with me into that world. My emotion for continuing to paint it's both for you and I to escape for a moment to another place and find joy in reliving the moment together." So let's escape from this crazy world into the artwork of Nadine's beauty. Nadine, welcome to our conversation.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We are glad that you accept to be in our conversation today. So as usual, we would be glad if you a little bit tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, how you start as an artist.
Well, I've been an artist in one form or another all my life. I have lived in New York City for 31 years before I moved to Asheville in 2014. And I was a set and lighting designer and built props and painted scenery. So I've been big scale painter for a long time. And when I retired from teaching set and lighting design in New Jersey, I decided that Asheville was a good place to continue to paint. But now I paint watercolors on a very large scale compared to what most people do.
Okay. So I also saw you did theatrical design. Is that something still doing?
No, I did 50 years and 500 shows, and I said that's enough. And so I have been in a theater a couple of times here, and I've actually helped paint 2 shows at the community theater, but not on a real professional level like I was doing in New York.
Yeah, maybe that's how it's influenced your artwork, because you like to paint moving things, such as train.
and my lighting design background really has influenced what I do in my career now, because I am very interested in mood and texture, and it's very important to me to be able to express that in the work that I do now.
All right, so is you exclusively doing watercolor, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, and why have you tried any other medium, or this is what you start and you decided that's what you like and you want to continue?
Well, as a child, I painted in oils. And in the theater, I painted in acrylics and dry pigment scene paint. And so I've done the other mediums, and I did set design renderings in watercolor, and I really didn't like it until I got to the Art Students League in New York and worked with a man who's still there named Paul Ching-Boer, and he changed my life. Mm-hmm. He said, throw out the rules, paint big, paint what you like, use a reference, and make it work. And in 3 weeks, I was ready to just go off and start painting in watercolor. And I love it because you can do so much more with it. And if you don't like it in 6 months, you can go back and change it by washing off part of it and starting over, instead of trying to paint over something that's so dry and cakey you can't move it.
How you choose those references? I mean, the subject of your painting. I know you mostly do urban landscape and cityscape. Is that
well? They're all from my photographs that I've taken over the years. I've traveled a lot. I biked around New York City 1,000 miles a year. And so I have so much to choose from that some days I pull out maybe 10 and think, okay, this is what I'm going to work on next. And by the time I get started, there's only 3 of them that still appeal to me. but I can always go back and find more. And when I moved down here, I thought I had enough. I'd never have to take another picture. Well, that didn't work because I've probably taken another 10,000 pictures since I've been down here. So I have to live a really long time to get this all on paper.
So are you also painting from life, or is it something you first take picture and then later on decide which one you want to paint?
I take it and then decide later. I don't do any painting on site. The light changes too fast. And when I find a moment that I really like, then that's what I want to capture in the painting.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your artwork. I have a few of your beautiful artwork, the cityscape and landscape, everything here. We appreciate if you walk us through some of your work.
Sure. The one that's up now called Liberty Beyond Bridges is 54 inches by 45 inches. And I painted this one in New York. It's very loose, and it took me a long time because the way the bridges were in the painting, it kind of divided it in half. But I do a lot of dripping and spraying and letting paint run, and I splash, and I paint up on an easel, which is kind of unusual for watercolor. And I start with the dark and I work to the light by taking off the paint rather than continuing to put it on. And it does not create mud. What creates mud is if you don't wait in between the layers to dry, because this is paint over top of layers, and that's one of my many techniques that I use a lot.
That means you let it to dry and then you put another layer, and sometimes you wash part of it, clean up part of it, right?
And this had water sprayed. I can't point at it because you can't tell where, but right at the top where you can see that it's all runny, I just sprayed water up there, and where it ran, it just sometimes worked. A lot of time I'm just sitting back watching the water start to boil. You know, it's the work itself if it's laid out right.
Fantastic. It's very big. Which bridge is this one? I don't know. I mean,
well, the bridge in the front is the Manhattan Bridge, and if you look real closely, right toward the bottom, there are some bright lights. That's a subway that I happened to catch going across the Manhattan Bridge, and then in the background is the Brooklyn Bridge, and then the Statue of Liberty. I was on a boat on the East River when I took that photo.
Wow, this is actually, it took me a long time to see and look on all those details that you capture with watercolor.
Well, that's very much the way I used to do set design. And this is the grand staircase in the old Paris Opera House. And when I was in Paris, they were closed, but they let me in. It was either Christmas Day or the day before. And so there were very few people in there. They had let in just a few. And this painting is actually the painting that juried me in as a signature member of the American Watercolor Society. And it is still on tour this year. I think it comes back to New York. Well, it may be there now. This is painted on a handmade paper from India called Khadi, Khadi. And that's the paper I like to work on the most because I can get this kind of detail. This is rough paper, very rough, and it's very soft, but it is kind of a combination of what most people use for watercolor paper and the muslin that I used to paint on it for scenery. And I think that's where my love of it comes from.
Are you made the paper yourself?
No, it comes from India. There's one plant in India, and I can't tell you the name of the town, that makes this paper. But it is shipped to the US now, and lots of my students that I've had use it.
Okay. It's very beautiful. I mean, I see you didn't use too many colors, but you know, you were able with the limit of color to capture almost every detail within that, and also the movement, which is very interesting.
That's one of my favorites.
And
This is on the Khadi paper too. This is a very different kind of painting. It's from a photo I took last April in Jersey City. And I've seen that tugboat several times when I've been biking out there with a friend. And I said, we have to stop because I have to have photos of that, because I knew it was one that I wanted to paint. And when I got home, I discovered the word patriotic that they had not painted over. But that tugboat has been sitting there for years. So I don't know the story, but you can make up your own about why that's still there being patriotic. And I love it.
so why, how you choose this subject? I know, like you walk around. What made you to start choosing the cityscape and urban landscape subject among any other subject?
I like old, gritty, moody buildings. I don't paint much glass and steel, but these things are interesting. Plus, they're historic. And I think a lot of the things that I've painted, some of them don't even exist anymore. So I'm painting the history of the buildings and the landscapes that used to be in New York and used to be in parts of this country and the world. Yeah. I also try to paint views of things like the Louvre or the Empire State Building that people wouldn't normally paint, so that you know what it is, but it's not the painting that you would say, oh, that's the Empire State Building. You have to look at it. Yeah.
So you're recording the history.
I am. And speaking of history, this is the Union Pacific Big Boy 4014, biggest steam engine ever built in this country.
Wow.
And I chased this halfway across Kansas last summer on one of its big 10-state tours promoting train travel.
Okay.
And this is in Sharon Springs, Kansas, 40 miles from where I was born.
So I think you are a lady who paint train, I should call you, because you have a huge number of train selection, of course, in your website. Why train?
Well, right now I am sitting in my working studio in the River Arts District of Asheville, North Carolina. And right outside this building, there are train tracks.
Oh.
When I came down here, I started photographing the River Arts District. And a lot of times there would be a train going through on the tracks, and it would be in my photograph. And I would paint those. Oh yeah, you're showing them. I would paint those trains and into my paintings, and they would sell first because they had a train in them. Because people are really into locomotives and train travel, and it's nostalgic for them, but it's also important for young people who are learning about train travel. And so I've sold a lot of them. There's a subway as well. I do anything, any kind of transportation that moves is fair game.
Traveling. That means you like traveling.
Yes, I do love traveling.
I love traveling too. I wish I had more time and money to travel around.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe one day, maybe one day. And one of the good thing about your website, I mentioned it before, it's very easy to navigate, and you can see you divide it into different subject, even the cities, and you have one, like, you can see for New York City, for Italy, and all the things that you capture and love about each of those cities or countries. And even international, you can see, which is, you divide each each of these. And these are the one you travel, right? You travel and then you yourself took picture, right?
That's correct. The only paintings on there that are not my photographs, but they are my paintings, are the ones from Israel. I have not been to Israel, but I have a very good friend who had traveled there, and we did a joint show of her photos next to my paintings at the Berlitz Art Gallery in Rockefeller Center for 2 months. So I still have some of those that did not sell at the event.
Wow, fantastic. America, New York, it's just one big topic because you used to live in New York City. So
that's right, yeah.
Your love of New York City. When you said a small watercolor, how small these are?
These are all, most of them are 12 by 16. Some of them are a little bit larger, but most of them are 12 by 16. And I have those in a separate category.
Which is fairly not so small, so still
Yeah.
compared to your other work, which is all larger. These are
right.
Small. Okay, let's go back to our subject, and of course, this is another train.
Mm-hmm. Painted on black cotton. This is on black cotton paper.
Okay. Is that someone commissioned to you to paint train for them, or you just like to paint train and collect this as you said, recording the history?
I'm recording the history, and I sell a lot of trains, but I also do commissions. When I come to New York at the end of this month, I'm stopping in Wayne, Pennsylvania to take pictures of an antique fire truck that a man has that he wants a commission of. So we're doing it in front of their old historic train station so that it combines his love of fire engines and my love of the transportation and trains.
So I mean, I look like, because you often I say that you add a little bit about that train. So that means you should have a good knowledge about the train and that particular train and history, or you do just search to see what is this train and the history behind that train.
Sometimes one, sometimes the other. I was told that this train was going on this Big Boy 4014 was going on a 10-state tour, and it worked out that I could follow it across Kansas last summer while I was on my way to teach in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Okay. So I learned a lot about that train while I was on the road, because the people who go out and chase these trains actually know a lot how many wheels they have and all kinds of things. It's amazing. It's fun.
All right, and this is a good vibe, which is Madison Mission Hospital Post. Okay, tell us about it.
Okay, this is 40 inches tall by 60 inches wide. It is in the River Arts District here in Asheville. And I was commissioned to do 2 paintings for a new wing of the hospital about 5 years ago. And this is one of the paintings they wanted. I had a smaller version of it, and this is what they wanted. And it now is outside the post-op hallway of this new wing of the hospital. And it's waxed with an archival wax. It does not have glass on it. It's mounted on a wood panel.
Why this is the subject the hospital choose, or that's you select this particular subject?
The hospital had a committee through a design firm, and so the committee suggested pick this one and one other one. So I have 2 big pieces like this hanging in that hallway.
Beautiful. Yes, sweetheart, we talking. Do you want to join our conversation? She's coming tomorrow. Can you go downstairs? Sorry, everyone.
This is the Vatican and the Tiber in Rome, and one of my favorites of my foreign travels.
Krista's coming tomorrow, sweetheart, for Ekman. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's a spring break and she's home. That's
that happens. I have a dog here that may bark, but so far so good.
Sorry.
So this one is simple, a very simple painting. I think it's on Cotty paper as well. But it was, I was in on an educational trip there and had some time, and sometimes I turn around and look behind me because the best shot is not in front of me. And this is one of those that I turned around and I went, oh my gosh, this is a painting.
So that's right away you decide, okay, you want to paint it, and you took picture for the purpose to paint, right?
Yes. In that case, I did, yes.
But often you just take picture and randomly later you come and say, okay, let me see what I'm gonna paint today.
Right. This is on the Hudson River during Fleet Week. And I think this is one of them that I have little tiny sailors all along the deck there. If you look real close, you can see them.
Yeah, okay. I see them. The white one, right?
Yeah.
How long it takes you to finish a painting? Like, for example, this one, which is 24 by 24.
That's a question I really don't think I can answer, because sometimes I think this is one of them that I started and I just couldn't figure out what I could do with it. So I put it away for maybe 3 months and I dug it out again and I went, oh, I have an idea. And then it comes to me. And then the one behind me of the Louvre right here, I actually washed that one off completely twice.
Oh goodness.
Because and on that same piece of paper, that's the third attempt to make it work. So
often I think most artists do the same thing. I myself, I have so many paintings around my studio, which is I just paint a little bit of it and then I go and look at it and say, oh no, I have to change it. I don't like it. And sometimes it takes a year to satisfy yourself,
Right.
Okay,
and
I like it.
So my answer to that, as one artist down here said, she said, I just tell them it took me 65 years.
That's true.
Because one painting builds on the next. And so sometimes I go back and use a technique I've used on one, 6 months later on another one.
Yeah, that's true. I have a painting from a couple of years ago, and then I always go and change it. And I look at it, oh, I don't like this part. And then I change it, And watercolor is quite much difficult compared to oil, because oil, you can just add layer and layer and layer. And watercolor, you have to, wash it and clean it. And, it doesn't damage the paper when you wash.
No, it doesn't.
It has to be very like you just take a small layer of that paint. So it has to be, you are often, after you did it many years, I'm sure you know how to wash it. It's not that you just put it under the water and then, wash everything.
No, I have a spray bottle and I have one on mist and one on a stream. So I call that my power washer.
Okay.
And I can wash it off, in little spots.
And then you clean it with tissue and something, and then let it dry, and then you paint.
Oh, I usually don't touch it with a tissue because that pushes the paint into the paper. This is Plaza Blanca out in New Mexico. This is where Georgia O'Keeffe used to go to paint. And I can understand why, having been there. It is such a magical place. Those rocks in the back are, I think, about 8 stories high.
Oh, wow.
And this is an arroyo, which is the flat part at the bottom. And I love that landscape out there. It's very fun, and it's so different from anything we have on the East Coast that it's a nice change. I go out every year and teach in Santa Fe. I'll be back out there in September. And I just, I stay I drive out so I can take more stuff. And then I can paint for 2 or 3 days before and 2 or 3 days after, and then drive home.
beautiful. I love road trip, and I'm sure that's to change the landscape and scenery. I think it's something we all need, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
when you're living in East Coast, you want to go to West or the center, to see different
yeah,
landscapes. The
yes.
experience you have, I'm sure it's quite amazing. And it shows you have a skill and you are master in what you do, because you are good in every different cityscape or landscape you paint. So
Well,
that,
thank you. I try. Oh, this is, yeah, this is the Empire State Building view I was talking about. I've actually had people walk in my studio here and say, is that a shipwreck? And I'm not sure how to answer that. This is the Empire State Building in fog, and I was walking home from Penn Station one night, and I looked down, and this is what I saw. This is another one that it just said, paint me.
wow,
This,
yeah, that's true. Actually, when I saw it first, before reading the title, I thought it's a ship.
this is 54 inches high.
Mhm.
And I actually used a garden sprayer to get all the layers of paint on this one. I sprayed them on.
Yeah, wow. Very nice, very beautiful, right? I mean, as you said, you know, you won't notice it, what that is, because, you know, that's how you said. I'm sure it was, this is like something you saw it at night, right? Definitely.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, the color combination and how you get that effect. I think it's very important.
And then back to a detailed one. Kinky boots. Yeah. We've talked pretty much about what this would be. Lots of detail. Another one that I used to live on that street, and so I love the Al Hirschfeld Theater, and the whole idea of kinky boots in the middle of this dark New York space was kind of fun.
Beautiful. I mean, it shows your love of city and cityscape, you know.
Yeah.
That
This is the Aran Islands off the coast of Ireland, and I had done a bike trip in Ireland, and they loaded our bikes on a boat and ferried us out to the Aran Islands for a day, and we biked around. This is called the Wormhole, and it's the furthest most point on Ireland, on the entire coast of Europe. Really beautiful place. And this is another one I did a lot of drippy spray, let it run kind of thing, and it became almost abstract.
but still you see that, you know, you see that the way the water, like, you know, rushes into this rock, and you see that, you know, it's very alive when I look at it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good. This is another one of New York. The old what's the name of it down there? I can't remember.
Old Devil Supermoon.
Old Devil Supermoon. Yeah, actually, my Paul Chingbor said, "Oh, it looks like the Old Devil Moon," and I said, "Yes, it's the super moon tonight." So that became the title. Another one of my biking around the city in the evening or early in the evening. Yeah. This is one of my trains that made the cover of our most popular magazine down here, the Laurel of Asheville. In December of 2020, they came in and gave me a week to do this painting because they wanted something in snow and I didn't have it. So I put together a background that I invented with a train that I had painted several times, and I did it in 4 days. It's 40 by, the original was 40 by 26, and it now resides in Santa Cruz, California, hanging over a guy who has model trains, including one of this actual big boy J611.
Very nice, very nice. Asheville. Okay.
This is another magazine, and I just love the title because I have no limits, and I try to turn everybody's head when they walk in this space. And they say, these can't be watercolors. Are they pastels? And I say, no, I don't do pastel. These are all original watercolors. And they stand here with their mouths open because they can't believe that I paint watercolor this big, this bold, this dark and gritty and moody. And they walk out with a brochure, and that's how I get commissions and sell my work. I'm different.
And this is the one you said you changed it completely.
Yes, this is the one that I couldn't get the lines right on that pyramid. And eventually I went back. This one took me 2 years. And I went back and looked really closely and discovered that the dark area on the right of that is actually a fourth side of the pyramid. But from the angle I took that photo, all the lines ran together. And when I figured that out, it took me about 2 days to finish that painting.
Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I think we are at the end of our conversation. I wish we had time to see more of your beautiful work. Nadine, do you have any last word for our fellow artists and our people?
Well, keep painting. And if you're in Asheville, come to Northlight Studios, where I have a working space, and I'm here most days. And if not, you can always reach me through my website and come and see the district. We have over 300 artists down here, and there are 6 painters in my building, and we love it. It's fun.
Definitely, I will visit you if I come this summer to Asheville. Thank you very much, Nadine. We really enjoy your work, and you are magnificent and master in what you do, and really amazing to really painting in watercolor in this large size. You are good at what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I'm enjoying rewirement.
Thank you. Thank you very much.